Have you ever made a choice that did not feel like your own? Like someone else was guiding your decisions, yet you could not prove it. That is the essence of manipulation. It is not always loud or obvious. The most skilled manipulators do not give direct orders. Instead, they push, they nudge, and they shape your reality in ways that are almost invisible. The Stoics warned us about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that external forces do not control us unless we allow them to. He said, if you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That is the key. When you recognize how people attempt to manipulate you, their power disappears. Manipulation seeps into our conversations, our relationships, and even our daily decisions. It is not just about obvious deception. It is about subtle influence that makes you second-guess yourself. The worst part is that most people do not even realize it is happening. Today, we are going to expose 10 sneaky ways people try to control you. More importantly, we will discuss how Stoicism can help you break free. Each of these tactics is designed to shift power away from you, but when you know what to look for, you can stop them before they take hold. This is not just about awareness. It is about reclaiming control over your own mind and decisions. The Stoics taught us that we should not fear what others think, say, or do. Our only concern should be how we respond. When you understand these manipulation tactics, you will stop reacting and start choosing. Now, let us break down the first manipulation tactic you need to watch out for. Tactic 1. Creating false urgency. You need to act now. You do not have time to think. If you hesitate, you will lose your chance. Does this sound familiar? It should, because it is one of the most common manipulation tactics. When people push false urgency, their goal is not to help you make a good decision. Their goal is to force a decision before you have time to evaluate your options. When you feel rushed, you are more likely to follow their lead instead of thinking for yourself. This tactic is used in business, sales, relationships, and even daily interactions. A limited time offer, an urgent favor, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, these are often designed to prevent logical thinking. When there is no time to pause, there is no time to question. That is how they take control. The Stoics understood that most urgency is an illusion. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." False urgency creates fear, but the fear is not real. It is a trick, a way to make you believe that hesitation equals failure. But in most cases, hesitation is wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the key to resisting manipulation. The moment you recognize that someone is pressuring you, you take back control. You do not have to play by their timeline. You can step back and make a decision on your terms. So how do you defend yourself against this tactic? The first step is awareness. When someone creates a sense of urgency, ask your senses, is this truly urgent, or is it being made to seem that way? Who benefits from my rushed decision? What happens if I take my time? More often than not, you will realize that the urgency is manufactured, not real. If someone is pushing you to act fast, slow down. If they insist that you must decide now, tell them, I will take my time. If they continue to pressure you, that is your answer. Their urgency is not about your well-being. It is about their control. The Stoics taught that we should not allow external forces to dictate our actions. A wise decision is never rushed. If something is truly important, it will still be important tomorrow. If someone does not respect your right to think before deciding, they are not acting in your best interest. This manipulation tactic only works when you react emotionally. But when you stay calm, when you refuse to be rushed, the pressure disappears. They cannot control what you refuse to engage with. You are not bound by their false urgency. You decide when and how you act. Tactic 2. Guilt tripping. If you cared about me, you would do this. After everything I have done for you, how could you say no? Statements like these are designed to make you feel guilty, not because you have done something wrong, but because someone else wants control. Guilt is a powerful tool of manipulation. When someone guilt trips you, they make prioritizing yourself feel selfish. They twist your emotions so that saying no becomes painful. Instead of asking directly for what they want, they frame the situation in a way that forces you to comply out of obligation. The Stoics warned about this. Epictetus asked, "Who is your master?" The man who has authority over anything that you are anxious to gain or avoid. If you fear disappointing someone, they can control you. If you feel guilty for setting boundaries, they can manipulate you. The key to breaking free is recognizing the difference between real guilt and false guilt. Real guilt comes from violating your own values. If you betray a friend, break a promise, or act dishonestly, guilt is a natural response. It is a signal that you need to correct your course. False guilt is different. It comes when someone makes you feel bad for doing what is best for you. It is a tool of control, not conscience. Manipulators often use guilt to shift responsibility onto you. They make their problems your fault. They make their emotions your burden. If you refuse, they act hurt. If you set a boundary, they accuse you of being selfish. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed, and you will not feel harmed. Do not feel harmed, and you have not been. You are not responsible for someone else's expectations. If a relationship is based on guilt rather than mutual respect, it is not a healthy one. When someone tries to manipulate you through guilt, ask yourself, is this guilt coming from my values or from their demands? Am I actually in the wrong, or am I being pressured into believing I am? Stoicism teaches that you must act with integrity, not obligation. You owe kindness to others, but you do not owe them control over your choices. If someone truly cares about you, they will respect your decisions, not try to twist them in their favor. The best way to counter guilt tripping is by standing firm. Acknowledge their feelings without giving in to their manipulation. Say, I understand that you are upset, but this is my decision. Do not argue, do not justify, and do not allow guilt to dictate your actions. When you stop reacting to guilt tripping, it loses its power. You reclaim your ability to make decisions based on reason, not emotional pressure. That is what true freedom looks like. Tactic 3. The illusion of obligation. After everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me. You owe me for all the times I was there for you. These are the words of a manipulator who wants to create a false debt. Not all obligations are real, but manipulators are skilled at making them feel that way. They take normal interactions and twist them into lifelong debts. A favor, a kind gesture, or even a relationship itself is framed as something you must constantly repay. The goal is not gratitude. It is control. Seneca warned about this. He wrote, "He who receives a benefit should never forget it. He who bestows should never remember it." A true gift does not come with conditions. A true act of kindness is given freely. If someone insists that their past generosity means you owe them, they were not being generous at all. They were setting a trap. This manipulation works because it creates guilt around saying no. When someone makes you feel like you are in debt to them, refusing feels like betrayal. They make you believe that denying their request is a failure of character, not a simple decision. But here is the truth. Just because someone insists that something is owed does not make it true. Real relationships are based on mutual respect, not unspoken contracts. If a person only values you when they are getting something in return, they do not truly value you at all. The Stoics remind us that we are responsible for our own actions, not the expectations of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person's worth is measured by the worth of what they value." If someone values control over you more than they value your well-being, their judgment is flawed, not yours. To break free from this tactic, ask yourself, was this truly a gift, or was it an unspoken trade? Do I feel obligated because I want to, or because I am being pressured? If someone keeps demanding repayment for past favors, recognize it for what it is: a strategy, not sincerity. The best response is clarity. If someone says, "After all I have done for you, you owe me," respond with, "If you only helped me because you expected something in return, then it was never truly help." But what happens when someone does not demand payback directly, but instead quietly shifts their responsibilities onto you? That brings us to the next manipulation tactic. When you recognize that obligation is often an illusion, you stop being controlled by it. Gratitude is a choice, not a chain. You can appreciate what someone has done for you without allowing them to dictate your life. That is what true independence looks like. Tactic 4. Playing clueless. I do not know how to do it. I am just not good at these things. Can you handle it for me? These statements seem harmless, but they are often used to shift responsibility onto you. Some people pretend to be incapable so that others will take over their tasks. They rely on the kindness and patience of those around them, knowing that it is often easier for someone else to step in than to insist they learn. Over time, this creates an imbalance. One person takes on more and more work, while the other remains conveniently helpless. The Stoics believed in self-reliance. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If someone refuses to learn or take responsibility for their own tasks, they are not just avoiding effort. They are controlling others by making them pick up the slack. This tactic thrives on frustration. When you think, "It is faster if I just do it myself," you are playing into their hands. They know that if they make the task difficult enough, you will eventually give in and do it for them. The result is a cycle where they remain dependent, and you become overburdened. The best way to break this pattern is to refuse to take the bait. If someone does not want to learn, let them face the consequences of their inaction. If they say, "I do not know how," respond with, "I am sure you will figure it out." If they refuse to try, let them struggle. Taking over does not help them. It only enables their dependence. The more they are forced to stand on their own, the less control they have over you. Independence is earned, not given. By stepping back, you allow them to take responsibility, and you free yourself from their passive control. Tactic 5. Rewriting history. That is not what happened. You are remembering it wrong. "I never said that." These phrases are not just disagreements. They are tactics used to distort reality. A person who wants control over others often starts by controlling the narrative. They reshape past events to make themselves look better or to shift blame elsewhere. Sometimes this is done subtly through selective retelling. Other times it is more aggressive, with outright denial of fact. The Stoics warned against allowing others to dictate our perception of reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change. But until then, I must act as I see best." The key is being open to truth while also protecting yourself from deliberate deception. When someone rewrites history, their goal is not discussion. Their goal is control. They want to confuse you so that you doubt your own memory. If they do this often enough, you may start questioning what really happened, making it easier for them to manipulate you in the future. This tactic is especially dangerous in close relationships. A person who constantly shifts the truth can make you feel like you are always in the wrong. They make you believe that you are overreacting, misremembering, or being unreasonable when in reality, they are simply refusing to take responsibility. The best way to defend yourself is to keep track of facts. Write things down if necessary. Trust patterns, not apologies. If someone has a history of changing the truth, recognize that their version of events is not reliable. The Stoics taught that we must remain anchored in reality. If someone attempts to twist the past, stand firm in what you know to be true. Do not allow anyone to rewrite your story. Tactic 6. Pretending to be an expert. Trust me, I know what I am talking about. You do not need to look it up. Just listen to me. Some people do not need actual expertise. They only need confidence. This is a common manipulation tactic. Instead of relying on real knowledge, manipulators assert authority through tone and certainty. They make others feel less capable of making their own decisions by presenting themselves as the only reliable source of information. The Stoics warned against blindly following those who speak with confidence but lack true wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be misled, but instead see things as they truly are." True knowledge is not about sounding convincing. It is about understanding reality. This tactic works because many people assume that certainty equals truth. If someone speaks with enough conviction, others may hesitate to challenge them. They may doubt their own knowledge and defer to the person who seems so sure of themselves. The easiest way to break free from this tactic is to ask for specifics. A real expert welcomes discussion and can provide evidence. A manipulator, on the other hand, becomes defensive or vague when questioned. They rely on intimidation rather than proof. Have you ever met someone who always sounds like they know everything, but when you ask for details, they suddenly become vague? If someone insists they are right but cannot explain why, do not take their words at face value. Do your own research. Trust facts over charisma. The Stoics believed in seeking wisdom, not simply accepting authority. Seneca said, "We should not believe every story told, but rather examine and judge for ourselves." If someone tries to control you by acting like an expert, challenge them. Ask questions. Demand evidence. A person who truly knows what they are talking about will not be afraid to prove it. Tactic 7. Forcing you to defend yourself. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Do you really believe that is the right choice? These kinds of questions are not always about understanding. Sometimes they are a form of control. Manipulators use constant criticism and false accusations to keep you on the defensive. When you are always explaining yourself, you do not have time to question their behavior. Instead of focusing on what matters, you are trapped in a cycle of justification. This tactic creates an unbalanced dynamic. One person is always proving their innocence, while the other person remains in a position of judgment. The Stoics warned against getting caught in these traps. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion. Things seen for what they are do not hurt you." The more you engage with unfair accusations, the more power you give to them. When someone forces you to defend yourself constantly, ask yourself an important question. Does this conversation lead to understanding, or is it just a way to wear me down? If the same accusations keep appearing no matter what you say, you are not in a discussion. You are in a battle for control. The best response is to refuse to participate in the cycle. Not every attack needs an answer. If someone is not interested in honest discussion, you do not need to waste your energy. Instead of explaining yourself, set a boundary. Say, "I am not going to defend myself against something that is not true." Then move on. The Stoics believed in focusing on what you can control. You cannot control what others say, but you can control how you respond. Do not let someone trap you in endless explanations. Your life is not a courtroom. You do not owe anyone a defense for being yourself. But what if the attack is more indirect? What if, instead of accusing you, they compare you to others to make you feel like you are falling behind? This is another powerful tool of manipulation. Tactic 8. The comparison trap. Why can't you be more like them? Look at how successful they are. You should be doing better. These words are not meant to inspire. They are meant to control. Comparisons create insecurity. When someone constantly measures you against others, their goal is not to help you improve. It is to make you doubt yourself. When you feel like you are not enough, you become more likely to conform to their expectations. The Stoics warned against seeking validation from others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." The moment you start measuring yourself by someone else's standards, you give away your power. This tactic is often used by manipulative people to shape your behavior. They make you feel that you are falling behind, that you are not meeting expectations, that you need to do more to be valued. Over time, this creates dependence. You look to them for approval instead of trusting yourself. The truth is, comparisons are rarely fair. People highlight the best parts of others while ignoring their struggles. They use incomplete information to push an agenda, but your worth is not determined by someone else's achievements. The Stoics believe that the only comparison worth making is between who you are and who you have the potential to be. If someone tries to control you through comparisons, recognize what is happening. Ask yourself, am I being encouraged to grow, or am I being made to feel inadequate? If it is the latter, reject the comparison. Focus on your own values, not someone else's expectations. You do not need to prove yourself against others. The only measure of progress that matters is the one you set for yourself. Tactic 9. Disguising commands as questions. Wouldn't it be better if you did it my way? Are you sure that is the right decision? Have you thought about what people might say? These are not just harmless questions. They are commands in disguise. Some people avoid direct requests because they do not want to be challenged. Instead of saying, "Do this," they frame their demands as suggestions. This makes it seem like you have a choice when, in reality, the expectation of compliance is already there. The Stoics believed in clarity and reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be straightforward, not oblique." The straightforward path is the one that leads to freedom. If someone cannot ask for what they want directly, they are likely trying to manipulate the situation. This tactic works because it gives the manipulator a defense. If questioned, they can say, "I was just offering a suggestion." They avoid responsibility while still applying pressure. Over time, this erodes your ability to make decisions independently. You start to second-guess yourself, wondering if you should always adjust to meet their expectations. The best way to counter this is to recognize it for what it is. When someone disguises a command as a question, ask yourself, is this truly a suggestion, or is it an expectation? If you suspect it is the latter, set a boundary. Say, are you asking or expecting? This forces them to be honest about their intentions. You do not have to follow suggestions just because they are framed politely. The Stoics taught that you must think for yourself and act based on reason, not pressure. A true choice is made freely, not through subtle coercion. Tactic 10. Selective memory. I never said that. You must be remembering wrong. That is not how it happened. These are not simple mistakes. They are deliberate attempts to rewrite the past. Forgetting details is not always an accident. When someone consistently forgets promises, agreements, or past conversations in ways that benefit them, it is a form of control. They erase past commitments to avoid responsibility. They deny previous discussions to escape accountability. Over time, this makes you question your own memory, making it easier for them to manipulate you. The Stoics believed in holding firm to what is real. Seneca wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In the same way, clarity is what happens when awareness meets truth. If you allow someone else to define the past, they will shape your future as well. This tactic is often used in relationships, workplaces, and negotiations. A person who engages in selective memory creates confusion. They make it difficult to hold them accountable because the facts are always shifting. If you challenge them, they act offended or dismissive. They make you feel unreasonable for insisting on what you know to be true. The best way to counter this is to keep records. Take notes if necessary. If someone constantly forgets details that matter, do not rely on verbal agreements. Write things down. When a manipulator realizes that their words can be traced back, their ability to rewrite history disappears. The Stoics taught that we should remain anchored in reality. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change. But until then, I must act as I see best." Do not let someone erase the truth. If they conveniently forget important details, remind them. Stand firm in what you know. Conclusion: reclaiming your power. The first step to freedom is awareness. Manipulation only works when you do not see it. Once you recognize the tactics people use to control you, their power disappears. The Stoics taught that external forces only have as much control as you allow them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The real battle is not with the manipulators. It is with yourself. It is about resisting the urge to react emotionally and instead responding with wisdom. Ask yourself, who has been influencing my decisions? Where have I been pressured to act against my own judgment? Identifying manipulation is not about blaming others. It is about taking responsibility for your own choices. The more you understand how people try to control you, the more control you gain over yourself. But awareness is not enough. You must take action. The next time someone tries to rush you into a decision, pause. When someone attempts to guilt-trip you, recognize it and stand firm. If a person tries to rewrite the past, trust your memory. Every time you refuse to engage in manipulation, you strengthen your ability to think clearly and act independently. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." These challenges are opportunities to grow stronger. The more you resist manipulation, the more unshakable you become. Today, challenge yourself. Set one boundary. Say no without explaining. The next time someone tries to pressure you, take a step back and think before responding. The next time someone makes you feel guilty, recognize what is happening and stand firm. You do not need anyone's approval to live by your own values. Act with purpose, not pressure. This is the essence of Stoicism. You cannot control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. That is true power. Now, take control.